Hi, my name is Fred Singer. I'm CEO of Echo360. We're a company focused in higher education. The big challenge in higher education is that fundamentally most of the ed tech spend doesn't have any impact on learning outcomes. The big dollars spent are on the LMS and the SIS, but they're actually more administrative tools and learning tools. So the problem we solve is how do you get better engagement and better interactivity between the teacher and the student? How do you do it on a SaaS basis? How do you generate big data? So what we've done essentially is turn classrooms into communities, and we do that leveraging the laptops and the phones of students. And we do three things. We use video, so we record classes so students can watch it before or after, or if you're doing distance learning, you can stream it. We do engagement. We allow the students, if you were here, you could take your phone and you could simply ask questions. If you didn't understand something, you push a button. If you want to take notes, you can do it on your laptop or your computer. You can do that either in class or after class. And then we also then provide behavior analytics, which is actually the analytics around what the students are doing, so that in most classrooms you actually know what the teacher and the student are doing. Today, none of that exists. Today we have about 700 higher ed schools. We have about 3 million students. We'll talk a little bit about the remarkable success, but the big thing is we generate essentially in any class up to 700% increase in engagement. And for those of you in education, you know that the #1 precursor to higher academic outcomes is engagement. So we've cracked the code on blended learning in a traditional classroom at scale. So we do it with three different ways. One is that simply we're able to allow the students to, when they're in class, take notes on their laptops. We also allow them to review it. If you're in a med school, like most doctors like to review it at 1.5 times the speed. So all the different modalities. So a professor actually doesn't have to change the way they teach. And the feedback's been amazing, and we'll give you a little bit of that as well. Second thing is that today, every single room is actually a classroom. So whether you're in an operating room or in a classroom or you're in the coffee shop, essentially any room becomes both a broadcast studio for the professor or it becomes a learning place for the students. So we've extended the learning outside the classroom. And again, we do that at massive scale. We have both hardware and software that allows us to do that, and allows us to also do it for continuing education, where we do it with a lot of medical institutions. Oh, sorry, clicking the wrong button. Second piece to talk about is the engagement. So this is really the core problem in education today, which is ultimately most of the classroom activity, particularly in higher ed, is incredibly passive. It's just a lecture like this. You know, occasionally people stick up the hands. We have just in the last year on the new platform, we've got literally a 7 times increase in engagement. The results have actually been astronomical. And if you, the current best practice in improving engagement today is using the LMS. So if you want to predict which kids are going to actually not graduate on time, the first thing you check is their activity in the first 2 or 3 weeks. So we actually have behavioral data, just like on a website, you know what people are clicking on. We're not relying on your profile data. So this becomes the most valuable data you can have. We also, again, allow it to happen on any type of device. So again, you can have hybrid classes, you can have distance learning, and you can do it traditionally. And so for schools, this is huge given the cost issues. Here's just a few comments from our own customers. We just had a set of users conference, and here's just what they said about Echo360.
Just one word.
Innovative.
I would say convenient.
Reliable.
See, this is very cliche, but excellent. I mean, I feel like I get great support. The tool is really easy to use. We've been working with Echo360 in a really great partnership. Maybe partnership is a better word.
The student level of engagement has changed, or I would say it has increased exponentially.
Echo360 is a system that inspires critical thinking.
Well, I think it's all about engagement for students. Faculty these days are hearing all about flipped classrooms, and a lot of them don't know what that means to them yet. So I think it's providing them the tools that allow them to re-engage the students, get them interested in class.
Useful would be the best word I could think of to describe Echo. Useful in every conceivable way that you can need a tool to help people learn.
So what matters here is this is being done available to, these are some of the largest higher ed institutions. You can do it in community colleges, you can do it in R1s, Ivy Leagues, it doesn't matter. But this is happening today. So it's not about what we could build, this is happening at massive scale. There's 3 million students using this system. We again just had some pretty good articles. University of Cincinnati featured dramatic improvement in their structure to improve retention and outcomes. Literally dozens and dozens of examples that I could go into as to how it works. Again, the other thing too, it's really important is the data. So we know a lot about the data. We know exactly what you watched. We know how many notes you take. We know the word clouds. We know, we know how many questions you did. We see dramatic increases in women in particular. People who have English as a second language who are more reluctant to talk about it. So again, this is blended learning, but providing the actual technology that allows real schools at real scale to kind of come into the modern world. Again, University of Ottawa is just another example. You know, again, huge participation rates. Again, lots of proven studies around improving grades, almost guaranteed to happen. Why? Because it's blended learning. So that is basically our company. We're growth stage, so we're a little different from some of the other folks. But essentially, it's really around trying to bring education and modern devices into higher ed and delivering that at scale. And we're fortunate to be able to do that. Thank you.